woman right here, this woman of God can cook. You've been featured on Food Network, Essence, USA Today, D Magazine, Eater. You have your own cookbook.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
That is wild. I did not go a conventional route. I had no savings when I quit my job. I didn't have any clients lined up. People are all like, oh my God, go start your LLC. I had a Facebook page. And an email address. That is it. And a gift of gab. You know, like my friend Tammy gave me your number. We have some stuff coming up. We need a chef. I pull up and the door opens and it's Priscilla Shire.
Wow.
The Tammy was Tammy Franklin. Got to do Tim and Juliet Ross's renewal.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah. I did their food. How? What?
Yeah.
How did that happen? That was my prayer before I went on Food Network. If I have a chance to put God on the forefront, if I have a chance to share my story, which is completely God ordained, then I'll be a poster boy for him if that's where you're taking me.
Welcome to the Faith Hustle podcast, where we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and careers God's way. My name is McQuenda. I'm your host. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And in that process, in that time, I've been mentored and guided by some of the most successful business owners that were not just crushing it in their companies, but in their personal lives, in their relationships with their spouses and their children, their devotions to Christ and to their local communities and churches. They had a holistic view of success, and that was attractive to me. That's what I wanted for my own life. And we teach 5 pillars here at Faith Hustle. We teach on being spirit-led, having a heart of stewardship, integrity, humility, and generosity. Those are the 5 things that we believe makes up someone that has a faith hustle. If that describes you, that describes what you're also pursuing, chasing after. We want to encourage you to subscribe to the podcast wherever you may be listening to, whether that be on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. Tap in with us as we are going on this journey together. And if you've been listening for a little while, would you leave us a review? Don't just be a straggler on the sidelines and saying nothing. Help a brother out. Help be a part of this community and leave us a review. It would help us tremendously to get the word out to more people so we can help more people in their faith hustle. Thank you so much. I see all the comments and the DMs, and I mean, literally, we have people who listen faithfully from London and Paris and 26 different countries, I'm pretty sure, which has been phenomenal, only by the grace of God. And so thank you for being tapped in. And today, I have a very special guest. I had a rule that was given to me, some great advice from a podcaster, seasoned podcaster. Shout out to Chris Cook. And one of the things he said was, you only put out shows that you would listen to, and you only bring on guests you admire. And this guest right here, who is a dear friend, she is a guest I admire. She is crushing it on all levels, but she's it's so genuine, so sincere, so authentic, and is doing something really special in food desert communities, which you'll learn about. She's a chef. I've tasted her food, right? So this is just someone that's like, oh, like, yeah, I think they can cook. Because trust me, not everybody can cook. If you got a company potluck, don't be eating everybody's greens and food, okay? That's how you get sick. But this woman right here, this woman of God can cook. And but she's also just she's an incredible businesswoman. She's inspiring just human being. And she's been featured on so many different platforms. I can't even name them all. Food Network and so many different others. And I know you're going to be inspired by this conversation. I have Chef Amber on the show.
Hey.
How about that intro?
Man, that was good. I was like, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about you.
Who's in here?
I can even say the first thing I had of yours. You made some deep fried frog
I know what
legs.
it was. It was a Asian Cajun frog legs. I remember it.
It had me
It's
speaking
on my
in tongues.
website. Like, it's still.
It was so good. It was so good. This woman can cook, and she's gonna get more into the story of like her journey. But I'm so glad you're here.
No, I'm glad to be here. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch a little bit how we met. So we met through. Shout out to Noel Sinaga.
Yeah. Hey, Noel.
Good brother. He had a startup company that you were kind of a part of a little bit. and we were doing a shoot, and I was filming and directing, and we met. That's where I tried your food, but also just got to see your spirit. I'm like, the most charismatic individual of a 5'1" woman, or however tall you are.
4'11".
4'11".
I know, right?
But just all the joy and just like I was like, oh, she gotta be saved. I just knew.
It's the Jesus in me.
It's the God in me.
Yeah.
Mary. No, but I could just tell that just something was different, and that
dope.
you had a mission that you were going after. And I want to jump right into it.
Let's go.
So yeah, like I said, you've been featured on Food Network, Essence, USA Today, D Magazine, Eater. You have your own cookbook.
Yeah,
which is wild.
That is wild.
So you gotta tell me like the origin stories of this, like how you become Chef Amber.
Yeah. So I tell people I'm Texas bred and Louisiana fed.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I know,
I like
right?
that.
Yeah. All the good flavors.
We love Louisiana.
Yes, we do. But my mother's from Baton Rouge, so all my Louisiana family is there. But my dad is from Texas. I grew up in Oak Cliff.
Come on, Oak Cliff. We had Tammy Coker on.
Come on.
All the Oak Cliff folks.
See, there you go.
Yep.
So yeah, but I mean, I grew up in Dallas eating Louisiana food. You know, I was not eating smothered pork chops, any of that. We had gumbo. We had frog legs. That was my fried chicken. We had red beans and rice and cornbread on Sundays, all the things. But I grew up around those big flavors. Mom was cooking. Uncles were cooking. Everybody was cooking. And I just really loved to like watch people eat. Like, sit down and the whole room gets quiet and everybody's just like smacking. I'm like, I love this. I used to watch my grandmother, like we would tell her, sit down and eat. And she would just sit there, you need anything else? You need anything else? And I'm like, lady. And now I understand. I do that same thing. So
the joy of watching other people eat your food.
And you take these ingredients and you just make them into something else and people enjoy them and you kind of create this vibe. I just really fell in love with that. I started watching public access TV shows like when I was little, just glued to the TV.
Really?
Yes, Yan Can Cook and Martha Stewart before she got wild and all this stuff.
Before she went to jail.
All that. But I was just drawn to those things. And my dad told me, like, when I got older, he was like, yeah, you told me you wanted to be a chef when you were like 8. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I knew it started way back then, but I love desserts, so I started out decorating cakes, making beignets, like all those type of things.
Beignet, okay. And
I still make beignets.
And I've never been to Louisiana, but I know it's on my list.
You gotta go, yeah.
But the Dallas, downtown Dallas, they have a farmers market.
Yes.
And there's some folks that are from Louisiana originally, and they have a little beignet stand. It was the first time I ever had it, and my God, that thing blessed my soul. I had too many. But anyways, keep going. But you were making that.
Yeah, that's where it started. I knew I wanted to be a chef then. I didn't know anything about culinary arts except, I mean, you cook. I guess you go to a restaurant, you go to culinary school. That's all I knew. But I was just obsessed with it, like from childhood. I started my first business in college at Grambling. They called me the cake lady. Or they called me the basket lady back then because I used to walk around campus with a basket full of like brownies, pecan candy. That's what we eat in Louisiana. Cheesecakes, like all those things. I would just sell them like $1 here. That was my gas money.
So you started this business early.
It was called Sweet Sensations.
I love it. Sweet Sensations.
I had like these paper cards that I just printed from Walmart. Like, it was crazy.
You do what you got to do.
But yeah, that love was there. The entrepreneurship side was already there. I don't know where I got that from. Now I majored in entrepreneurship and business at Grambling, but the moving and hustling and stuff, it was just already there. Yeah. So I just honed it over the years. But yeah, that's where Chef Amber started.
Come on.
Yeah.
Which I do think some of that, there's some things I think can be taught. I don't think there's things like that mentality. I don't think that can be taught.
You kind of born.
I think you are.
With that. You got some people that want to be entrepreneurs and they don't even have a product or a service. They're just like, I know I want to create a business. Like, that's it. You're just kind of born with it. So that part, I always tell people, like, most chefs aren't really good business people. They're just like, I want to cook. I don't want to deal with it. I love P&L statements.
Wow.
I love cash flow statements. I will be like, oh, how do I make these numbers?
I love it.
Like,
I love
my
it.
glasses.
Yeah.
So I love those things. So all the things. Yeah.
Which is not common.
No,
because,
it's not.
Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, there's analytical things to cooking, but like it's very creative.
It's very much an artistry.
And so having that, but having also that analytical mind is not a very common mixture. And you're 100% right that like just because you are in food or that doesn't mean you necessarily know how to run a business.
Yeah, no.
The same thing goes with like, I know people in the medical field, like they go to become doctors, but when they want to go to start their own practice, like, man, I don't know how to run this. I don't know, you know? So it's not always like as a common thing, but that's awesome that God kind of gave you those both gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you become a culinary chef. What's the next step from that? Have you been wanting to start a Christian podcast, but you just don't know where to start? It's 2025 and you told yourself last year you were going to start that podcast. Well, trust me, I understand. Believe it or not, Faithustle was actually launched and started in 30 days from start to finish. And I believe you can do the same. Most people hesitate to start a podcast for a few reasons. They don't know where to start, they don't have the right equipment, and they don't know how to build a great show that can get traction. That's why I created the 30-day podcast course to teach you the methods and the exact model that I use to build out my podcast in 30 days. In this course, you will get 9 teaching videos that will show you how to find your unique podcast niche, how to find high-level guests, and how to conduct incredible interviews. You'll get a list of the exact equipment that you need to build out your show, and you'll learn the free and powerful marketing strategies to launch your podcast to the masses. What if 2025 could be the year that you start that podcast and impact thousands of people? Don't wait. Start today and let's get that podcast launched.
So when I graduated from college, my goal was to go to culinary school. I wanted to go to Johnson & Wales, and I figured I'd go there and, I don't know, work my way up a restaurant. I'm telling you, that's all I knew. I didn't have any other plans. And I did not make it to culinary school. I got out of college, had my business degree, and Sally Mae wanted her money as soon as I graduated.
She don't wait for nobody.
I was like, I don't have it. I don't have it, lady. I don't have it to give you. So I had to go to work, you know. I'm like, dang, I can't stay in my mom's house for. And what's so crazy is back then, being like 20, whatever, when I graduated, I thought I was so old. So I was like, I gotta get out my parents' house. Who's 20 and stays in their parents' house? And now I'm like, no, we all like, can I come back home, please? I'm like 35.
You're like, man, this don't sound like too bad of a gig.
I'm 39. Can I come back home, please? It's so expensive. But I just had to get out my mom's house. That was just me, like Little Miss Independent. So I went to work at Enterprise. Like every college person. Worked at Enterprise for 3.5 years, made it up to management. And while I was at Enterprise, I started LaRouche. So I catered and did the management.
So LaRouche is her catering company.
Yes, LaRouche Cuisine. That's my first company that I started. But I started that while I was working in corporate America. And I catered and rented cars for a year at the same time until 2015. That's when I left and I was full-time. And I've been full-time since then.
Wow. But that's a beautiful thing. I do think, you know, and not to go completely off track, I think sometimes there can be this, oh, well, if I don't go full-time, I'm not a real entrepreneur. I was like, that's not true.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. That's not true at all. It's like, you got to do whatever makes sense. Now, I even tell people, like, you know, because I've been running my business now. I'm about to hit my 8th year.
Congrats.
And thank you. I survived, right? But I tell people, like, I did start kind of right away full-time in, but I also was like 20 and I didn't graduate college. So I didn't have a ton of student loan debt. So it was like, I was in a perfect scenario where I could sleep on couches or just makeshift scenarios and like just bootleg. Like I could live off very little. Inflation was not where it was today, and I could make it work. I didn't have kids. You know what I mean?
That helps.
You know what I mean? For real. Like the advice I got was like, hey, listen, you're single. You're not married. You don't got a mortgage. Like, if you're going to do this, do it now.
This is when you mess up. Like,
right.
do all of it. No, I tell people, do not follow my story. Like, I don't have a problem sharing my story because it's very much God-led, God-breathed. But I'm like, y'all, don't go out here and say, well, Chef Amber different. No. Because when you out here eating sandwiches for dinner, I did not tell you to do that, okay? Now, the Lord told me to take the struggle route, okay?
Yeah.
And that's my cross to bear, but I did not go a conventional route. I had no savings when I quit my job. I didn't have any clients lined up. People are like, oh my God, go start your LLC. I had a Facebook page and an email address. That is it. And a gift of gab. Hey, y'all got to eat? Okay.
Come on. Yeah.
That's all I had. And most people are like, oh my God, you need, what they say, 6 months of savings, a year, year and a half. Okay, I didn't have none of that. I maybe had 30 days.
You had a word, and
that's it. I had just bought my house.
Wow.
I bought my house when I was 25. I had just got a new car, and I was like, now why would we do this? Now why would I hop off into the abyss when I have all these bills racking up? But it was very supernatural. It was very much God. I have questioned him over 10 years. I'm like, was it wax in my ears? Was I hungry at the time? I don't get it. But he's reminded me so many times, like, no, that was me. It's just a little thick, but it was me. Like I told you to get out there. It was me. So
I love it. And here you are. I mean, it's like, I think, and I just filmed the episode talking about this where, scripture here says, he used the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Right. And so we want godly wisdom, but we also don't want to look foolish. And you can't really have both Now, there is again, conventional wisdom that is great. And if it works out for you in your situation, amazing. But if you're wanting to do it God's way and God asks you to do something that looks foolish,
it's like, as long as your glory is at the end,
right? It's like, hey,
I'll be foolish
sometimes
for right
it comes with that territory of but then you look like a genius on the other end of oh my gosh, Chef Amber, you're writing cookbooks and people are asking you to be the executive chef at their restaurants and all this different stuff that we were just talking about off air and just different things that God's opened doors for you and being on Food Network and all this different stuff. You're if I knew all that was going to happen, then it wouldn't be a problem.
I'm like, if you would have said that, then I wouldn't have, okay.
Right. But you have to take that first. Okay, so you take this step, you go full time. Tell me about that journey of what is a very helicopter view of what it's been like.
My first full day of full timeness, I just sat in the middle of my living room floor and I was like, what do we do now?
No one's telling you how to do this? Yeah.
I'm like, were there influencers back then? I don't know. I didn't know anything. All I knew is I have a product and I have to go find clients that will pay for this. And somebody in my network was starting a podcast.
Really?
Yes. And they were like, I want to feature Black women in business, and they just so happened to know me during the Group Me days when everybody was connecting through Group Me, and she was like, you're one of the first people I want to feature. I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, I'm I got 2 weeks under my belt. I'm whatever.
So me as a Black woman entrepreneur, what I always say.
Don't know anything, but no, I went on her show and people just started hearing about it, and that word of mouth kind of carried. And no lie, 10 years later, my company is 97% referral based.
Wow.
So that's all relationships.
My goodness. Just 10
and I really
years
don't
of, wow,
I don't
building.
put out Facebook ads or anything like that. It's really referral based. And I really say my company is different because we're really built on relationships.
Wow.
I want to be like, hey, how was the vacation? To my corporate clients and stuff like that.
How's your kids? All this different stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So we started that way and we still operate that way. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I've seen you in action with your company, with your people. It's nothing short of excellence.
No,
we've done events together, and
it's trial and error. It's trial and error. I've had a lot of mentors. I've made sure that I sat up under people. A lot of people, they're like, "Oh no, I'm got it." No, go find somebody to sit up under.
Yes.
I think the way discipleship works in the church or in the body, it should work that way in the business world.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're trying to do business God's way, because that is ground zero to lose your integrity and lose your mind and all these things. Once money starts rolling in and accolades, it's like, no, go find somebody to sit up under.
Yep.
Who's been there before you. But I made sure I had people I sat up under and people I could listen to that would tell me about myself.
Yeah.
All those things. And it really, really helped to make sure I wasn't walking alone.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you know, in so many ways, even, you know, a disciple that, you know, that Jesus, how he coined it in apprenticeship, sometimes they can be synonymous in the same thing. Like you're sitting under somebody, right? Your rabbi, right? Or somebody who is teaching you. I think all of us need that process.
Yeah.
And because it saves you a lot from a lot of different.
It does. And at every stage. It's not just at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I still, like certain people, I'm like, yeah, call me. I'll come work for you. Like I'll take off the head. Yeah. I'm not above it at all.
I love it. Actually, that's super dope. Yeah, because you've been a chef doing your own thing for 10 years. You still sit under other chefs.
Yeah, so one of my first mentors, her name is Chef Rose. She was actually the family chef for the Jakes family for like 20 some odd years, and now she's the executive chef of the Potter's House. She was one of my first mentors.
Wow.
And I would just be like, okay, you got an event?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
she'd give me a coat and all this stuff, and I just watch her stand next to her, and she's like, now don't do this, and then, you know, all that type of stuff. And even now, I'll go to the Potter's House, and I'm like, you in the kitchen? And I'll go visit her, and we'll talk some more, and she'll drop some more gems, and yeah, so you meet those people. I
have my mentor too, you know, Dan Cobb, or the few other men who I'll look up to. I was with my brother actually this past week, Jesse Brzezinski, and for 3 years he was, and hopefully he's okay with me sharing this, but I mean he literally took a client. I won't say the company he works for, but he literally took a client that. It was like 600,000 in business to like 100 million when he was done in 3 years.
What?
And grew an insane
Crazy
team.
Work.
So I'm sitting with him. I'm just like, all right, I just got to hear.
Yeah,
from
pen and paper. Yeah, soak it in.
And a lot of times he's just talking about the Lord. He's talking about life. He's talking about the things that matter. But I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get wisdom. And we need that. You know,
you gotta be a student of the craft. Like once you stop being a student, I think you start to wither away. Just like the body, once you start moving, like your bones start getting tight and all those, you gotta like become a student of your craft and like keep learning. Because now things are changing. We got AI, we got all type of things. Like even now, I'm starting to look up, you know, programs that curate menus using AI or to help me, you know, think of some other stuff, find other ingredients. Like, you gotta stay agile.
You do. That's so good. Okay, so. You're starting this company, you're sitting under people. What's the moment or in the 10-year process that you're like, something shifted here? And then, you know, and then I want to get into the cookbook in a little bit as well. But I'd love to hear what you felt shifted for you.
The shift. I would say the shift is when I made myself an employee, when I started paying myself for real.
Listen.
Because I don't know what y'all be thinking, but... And I don't think I made myself an official employee until maybe year 6.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, lights on. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that was the moment that was like, wow, like I have a company that is helping me live and I can go do things.
That's predictable.
Yes. When I started to hire my first person, that was eye-opening to me. Like, I was like, wow, I thought it was just going to be me. You know, I didn't think about that. And then now you got to learn how to be a leader and all those things. And I'd say probably one of those pivotal moments, and you'll probably kind of understand this, one of the most pivotal moments I had, I was just really, really down in the dumps. Financially, it was whack. You know, I'm like, the brand is doing good, but behind closed doors,
they don't know. Yeah,
I'm like, y'all, and especially in our industry, it's not like when you show up with your camera. Like, let's just say you charge people whatever $5,000. Like, as long as you got your camera and stuff, like you get $5,000. On the catering side, it starts with $5,000, and then you got to buy food, subtract that, then you got to pay people, subtract that, and then you're left with, I don't know, whatever's left over, but it's nothing close to $5,000, you know, so you have to think about that. So sometimes it's like, I'm not paying myself, you know, but,
and you still have to work it. Yeah.
You still got to work.
And I'm sure with the increase in prices of, ingredients and all that, it's been
that
hard.
makes it even worse. And
Wow.
then you got to pay people. If you want great people, on your team, you got to pay them, so they feel valued. But I was in a really, really low moment, and I got a random call from a client. They were like, hey, my friend Tammy gave me your number. And I actually just told this story on another podcast. My friend Tammy gave me your number. We have some stuff coming up, and we need a chef. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we go through the process, and they needed me to come see their kitchen at their home. And I'm like, okay. So I pull up, and the door opens, and it's Priscilla Shirer.
Wow.
And I didn't recognize her voice.
Yeah.
And the Tammy was Tammy Franklin.
That's amazing.
Who I have never met. I've never cooked for.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how? What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
And then it clicked. I did an event like a year before for Boss Women Media. Shout out to Marty. And Tammy Franklin was there, and Lady Jade. And they came to my table. They picked up a shrimp and grits, and I remember handing them a card, and that was the end of the interaction.
Wow.
And a year later, that led to
That's
me being
amazing.
in that house. And that happened again last year, I think. And I got to do Tim and Juliet Ross's renewal.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I did their food.
Almost went there.
Really?
I was gonna help film. My boy Hector reached out to me, but I think I was out of town.
Hector, I finally got to meet, because I'm like, I'm a basement dweller.
Come on now, the B-side.
So I was like, that is crazy. But all those happened at some of my lowest moments.
Wow.
And I have a friend who used to remind me when all these things start happening. I started serving people like Tony Evans, people like Priscilla Shirer, the Rosses. And it's like, you feed the feeders. That is kind of what you're destined to do. And I was like, whoa, I never thought about it that way.
Wow.
At all. So those are those little moments where then I heard, like, okay, that was God I heard. It wasn't just my stomach problem.
Yeah.
It was the Lord.
Yeah.
That was the Lord. But yeah.
Wow. That's that encourages me, because I think, you'll hear stuff, you write stuff down, and you're like, was that me? Was that God? And then you start to see it played out, like, oh, that's what you meant. And, and sometimes you see it in glimpses, and then it's like, I feel like sometimes we think like the arrival to somewhere is going to be like, oh, yes. Sometimes you're just in it.
Like the sky's going to open up.
And then it takes someone else to be like, remember when we used to pray about this 5 years ago? You're like, oh, yeah, I did used to pray about this.
For me, it's other people. Like, whenever I'm sitting on a podcast, wherever I meet somebody, or somebody's like, oh, remember when? I remember when we had that conversation. So many people, I remember when you were at Enterprise and you were depressed. And you just kept talking.
Going through it.
Man, it's like you just kept talking about cooking. And I forgot those things. But because they said it, I was like, oh, man, like I'm living in an answered prayer. Like, that's crazy. So,
that's beautiful. I love that. And then all these different press loves you. They just do. I have seen it. You be getting awards. You be doing all this different stuff. I'm like,
I'm just
man.
here. If I could hide in the back, I really would.
Really? That's not your personality to be out there like that.
Well, I mean, I've been a cheerleader my whole life, so you kind of turn it on.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I'm one of those people, like, I can turn it on when I need to, but I'm not craving the spotlight at all. But I'm like, if I have a chance to put God on the forefront, if I have a chance to share my story, which is completely God ordained, then I'll be a poster boy for him if that's where you're taking me. That was my prayer before I went on Food Network, because I was really, really nervous.
Really? You never told me a story about that.
Man, that was crazy too.
Yeah.
That was always my goal. I was like, oh, if I could just make it to Food Network, like, that'll be cool. And when the pandemic happened, I totally erased that prayer. I was like, I don't have to make it anymore. Like, I'm good. Whatever. Wow. I'm alive. During the pandemic, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I totally forgot about that. I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to do that at all. And then I got the phone call. As soon as I was like, no, I don't need it anymore. But I got so nervous because I was watching Food Network, and I'm like, I cannot see what? Like, I'm going to be in the tube, like there?
The tube?
Where I can, what? I just got so nervous, like anxiety. All the things just start like flowing over me. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle this mantle. Like, I don't know if I can handle this type of stage. And I went to Prayer Mountain Like, that is my space. Have you ever been to Prayer Mountain?
I haven't. I need to.
Go to Prayer Mountain. It's so, so good. It's like a beautiful place. It's kind of up and elevated, and they have like little coves where you can sit, talk to God. It's great. But I went up there and I heard the Holy Spirit say, like, if you use this platform and turn it into an altar and worship me instead of allowing yourself to be elevated by people, then you'll handle every platform that I put you on. Just turn that platform into an altar.
Wow.
So I make sure, like, every level, every Essence USA Today, you know, like, I flip that thing and make sure God is at the forefront. And that's the only way I kind of cope with being out in the forefront. Because people don't talk about the anxiety behind that. Like, it looks fun, but it's so many celebrities that are dealing with those same things. I'm like, no, this is kind of scary. I would rather be in the bushes somewhere.
Yeah.
Hide me, please. And
Wow.
he's like, no, I'm calling you out for such a time as this.
For such a time. That's use the platform as an altar. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I heard somebody else say, it's like, if you stay low, bullets can't hit you. And it's like, you're covered when you're low, you know? And it's like, but when you want to start getting high, like,
getting like puffed up.
I did do
Bam.
this. Yeah, exactly.
You're just out there.
You're a clear target.
Clear target.
You are an easy target.
No, that's real.
But when you stay low, it's not as easy. And
that's so real.
And it's like, you know, 'cause the Bible talks about that, you know, he gives grace to the humble, but also talks about that he resists the proud. So it's like, I don't want him to have to humble me. I'd rather do it myself.
Especially when you're at a high level. Like, that is one of my fears. I'm like, please don't drop me from this. Like, that is one of my fears. Like, the higher I go, I'm like, oh my God, the higher you go, like, you know, the longer you have to fall. I'm like, please don't kick me off this. Don't kick me off the edge, please.
But I think, you know, but that heart posture that you have, I think it would make it very difficult. Like, none of us are, are exempt from challenges, temptations, but you have that posture, you know what I mean, of humility. And ever since I met you, it's been the joyful, the charismatic side, but there's, you know, one of my people I really look up to, William Ryan, he always used to say, you want to go into a room and be there you are person instead of here I am. And I definitely feel like that's who you are. Of like, I've never felt being in your presence of being like, oh, you don't know who I am?
Yeah.
You don't know me? I run this. Like, you know what I mean? Food Network, never heard of it? You know what I mean?
Like, what?
You know what I mean? Like, I never have gotten that from you. And like, I would have to pry it out of you. You know what I mean? To get, you know, and so I think that's beautiful. And I think that reflects
I pray to God be the glory.
Come on. Okay. So I want to get into this because you're not just a chef with an amazing catering business, you know, doing all this press different stuff, doing private, cooking for, you know, very high influencers in our Christian space. But you wrote a book and around something that you're very, very passionate about.
Yeah.
So I love to hear more about that journey.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was born and raised in Oak Cliff, and it's considered what they call a food desert.
And describe to people who don't know what a food desert is.
Yeah. So a food desert is any area of space where the community doesn't have access to healthy and or affordable food. So most of the time it's like convenience stores. It's, you know, you're buying a lot of processed foods and things like that. Sometimes they call it food swamp. Some people call it food apartheid now because they want to acknowledge that the root of this is systemic, which it is. And then the opposite of that is a food oasis. You know, you can go in the north part of Dallas and you'll see a Whole Foods like right next door to a Central Market, right here. You know, HEBs are fine everywhere. Tom Thumbs are right, and they're just like right down the street from each other. Meanwhile, we are literally begging grocery stores to come to the South, and it's super, super sad. So that's a neighborhood that I grew up with. Like, I remember, you know, we had food drive boxes, all the things. So I think that food equity piece or food deserts, as I knew it back then, it was always a passion. So I made sure that I at least put some resources and things towards that for LaRouge. Now, then the pandemic came around. And, you know, everything shut down. we could not serve anymore. Events we couldn't meet.
Right.
So I found myself back at those food drive lines, getting those same boxes that I grew up with. So in the midst of me like unpacking these boxes, I just had a thought. I'm like, now I know how to flip some of these ingredients and do some creative things because I'm a chef. Like that's what we do, right? We make something out of nothing. But I'm like, what about the families around me? Like, what about my neighbors? Like, I wonder if, like, are they just making tacos and regular beans and rice, or do they know how to be creative? So I was bored. And I was like,
that's great.
How many creative recipes can I make out of these boxes? So I just started playing around and I started writing down the recipes. And those recipes are what's inside of my cookbook now.
Wow.
But my cookbook is a little bit different because it has chapters to it. And each one of those chapters has a little paragraph of motivation or encouragement in it. And actually those chapters are split by journal entries that I wrote that I turned into like motivational paragraphs. But that's all I had. Like during the pandemic, I didn't know how I was gonna make it. I didn't know what was next. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like writing journal entries, you know, from reading scripture and all those things. And all that and the recipes, I put it together. The Lord was like, no, other people need to hear this. Because I did it just because I was bored. Like it wasn't supposed to be a book.
Yeah.
Like the journal entries were in my phone.
Wow.
And the recipes were just on my computer. Like they were not supposed to be a thing.
You didn't go into like, oh, I'm going to make a book.
No, not at all.
Wow.
And everybody was releasing ebooks back then. I was just like, I don't have any. I'm trying to keep my mind together. Like I'm not giving myself extra work. But the Lord was like, no, people need to hear this. So compiled those, gave it a name. It was Surviving the Food Desert. I actually wrote a second book during that time too, which hopefully I'll release soon. But yeah, that book came out and I thought that was it. I was like, okay, the book came out. Mind you, I wrote the book in 2020. I didn't release it till 23.
Wow.
Now that I look back, I was booked for an event that surrounded the book every single month from the month that I released it.
Are you serious?
December, January, yes.
Every month you had an event for that book.
It was either an interview or an event or a speaking engagement, a cooking demonstration. Something was booked that rooted from that book every single month after I released it.
Wow.
Mind you, I released it like 3 months late from the original target date. So I was like,
it's like, man, if I can get those 3 months back, yeah.
But so many people popped up out of nowhere like, oh my God, like, I really needed this and I didn't even know. And organization was like, no, we've been looking for a resource. All the way to, I got an email from a physician in West Virginia who just so happened to be Googling. She was like, I've been Googling resources for my community because I work with an obese and like diabetic community. Mm-hmm. She was like, I was looking for resources from them and your book popped up on Google.
Wow.
Random.
Wow.
And then my PR team like got me in contact with Essence and USA Today and D Magazine and it just flowed and flowed and flowed. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how that happened.
I never knew the full story. I knew parts of it, but I think what makes that so special is that one, it came from a burden. Yeah. You know, it's like a need that you saw, even though it kind of became that later. Mm-hmm. But then also, too, I think of some of the doors that we want open. And if you go in Scripture, again, I always go back to the Bible.
Bring it out.
It's just like God always goes back to like what's in your hand, right? Moses, literally, what's in your hand? I've been reading. Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Earl McClellan, his book "Get Your Spirit Back." Yeah. I've been reading that, and it's all on Gideon, and and he's telling Gideon, "Go in the strength that you have." Right. So like all these times, he's just asking, "What do you got right now? What do you have?" Like I'm asking you to do. I didn't ask you to do this. Yeah. And not supply you with anything. And like my pastor in the book, he gave this illustration. It was like, let's just say like. We didn't know each other, but I Venmo'd you $100. And then I go to you, it's like, hey, can you give me $75? I'm like, man, I don't got 75. But you didn't know I put it in you. I put it in your account. And it was like, God's not going to ask you of anything that's not already in the account. You know, so like your creativity, you're looking at these food boxes, you're like, I got to be able to flip something. That's in your account. You know, and for those who are listening, I think that can be really... hopefully encouraging from your story of like what you're looking for or believing for, you probably already have.
It's almost like a recipe. And sometimes, like, the way I cook is I just stand in my pantry and I'm like, okay, what do I have right now? And I just kind of piece it together. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, can you give me that recipe? I'm like, baby, I don't have it, because I don't use recipes like the
good cooks don't use recipes.
We don't. The ancestors have told me what to put in the and I just put it there.
Mama Shirley said,
I just
a teens more.
Like, okay, like a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, like, it's just all these seemingly random ingredients. But the same thing, kind of like what you said, from your creativity to the thought process, everything that you have is just random ingredients until you put it in the right hands, right? Like, somebody that doesn't really know how to cook, they're like, I don't know what to do with this. But you give it to somebody who's experienced. You give it to somebody who has the forethought, who has the creativity and the artistry, who's created to do this. They can take whatever you have and make it into something great. And God is the ultimate and first creator.
That's good.
Like that we know. So if we just give him our ingredients, let him cook.
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
I love it.
He can do something with that. There's a book called Call to Create by Jordan Rayner.
Yes. We've talked about that.
We talked about that book. Yes. Oh my God. If you're an entrepreneur, like, please go get that book. It has a journal with it too. Gives you a little work. But that book helped me really solidify my roots in Christ in my work. You know, I'm like, oh no, he really can call you to be an entrepreneur, and you can walk this path for and with him. But that book helped me really, really see that. So yeah. That's
beautiful. Yeah. I love it. And I love seeing how, just the reach of it, because again, it's got such a strong mission. It's not just like, oh, here's some, and there's nothing wrong with like recipes for the holidays and this and this and that, which is cool.
Which is fine. We need it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, holidays are coming up, but it's like, hey, like, it's a Tuesday in April, and you gotta figure out how to feed your family.
Like, I got beanie weenies and rice. What do I do?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly, because I mean, if you never lived in the hood or you don't know some of the challenges that come from that, like, I remember like some of my friends' fruits were like canned fruit. That's all they had,
and
like,
that's all and there's so much sugar.
Oh my gosh,
all that
so
like the
sweet,
syrup,
like
what?
It's like
this?
Fruit don't look like this.
No.
And forget vegetables and like fresh ingredients,
Right.
But I also remember going with my mom to like fresh farmers markets and being like, we would pick cantaloupes and watermelon and fresh vegetables. And
but imagine never seeing that.
Yeah.
Imagine never growing up with that and be like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that, like,
right.
I don't know what
it is.
So that's the same thing that a lot of people in these food insecure areas. And one thing that I like to dispel is that food deserts or food insecurity, it's not a poverty issue. It's a proximity issue. Like, it's not because they don't have, because during the pandemic, you saw Mercedes-Benz and Kias in those food drive lines.
Wow.
It wasn't, just your seemingly poor and DeSoto and all those things, like people that had money. Like, no, we were all in that line together because of
the nearest place, maybe 40 minutes from you.
It wasn't near us.
And if you don't have a vehicle or you don't have,
and they always think like, oh, well, no, it's the poor people. No, well, no, which is kind of crazy, because if grocery stores knew that, you would think those are in the business to feed. You think you would go to the communities for the people who need to be fed the most. So that's very interesting, but I won't get on that.
It is. Hey, listen, maybe the next step, you start just getting some Chef Amber grocery stores. Come on.
Don't get me started.
Come on now, fresh farmers markets.
Who got the money?
Come on.
Because that's what I don't have.
Come on,
give
VCs.
It to me.
Come on, let's
Please.
dream.
I got the ideas. Give it. I need the money.
Give me the money.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Okay, a follow-up question to that I'd love to get into is what's been like some of the stories that you've heard, or some of the life change that's happened on the other side of this book, because you already mentioned it's been opening a lot of doors and different things like that. I'd love to hear, because it has such a specific message and a specific audience. I'd just love to hear what some of the stories are from that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've heard is like, this is a missing puzzle piece that I didn't know I needed, and that has been so profound to me, because I'm like, I just wrote this in one of my deepest, darkest spaces, so I never knew that it would bring light to anybody else. But I think as the journey has gone on, God has kind of allowed that to rest in my spirit, because it kind of helps me know, like, you got to go through something in order to tell somebody else about it. Or more so, like, who are you to tell other people about this if you haven't gone through it yourself? So it makes it all the more connect together. So I'm happy to share in that with the audience. But also, too, like, I've done speaking engagements behind it, and I always start to share, like, this food is medicine piece. You know, it's one thing to have the creativity, you know, when you don't have a lot.
Yeah.
But also, our food can either be a cure or a cause for the ailments that are happening in our body. And when I speak about those things, so many people like, yes, I deal with that. Or, yes, all of a sudden I turned 30 and, you know, I can't drink milk anymore, or bread bothers me, or meat bothers me, and all these things. And I've dealt with that myself. So I'm vegan pescatarian. Oh, and a lot of people don't know that. Because I'm like, wait, but you could. I'm like, yes, I still cook everything. Because I don't want to punish anybody for my body being crazy. But no, in 2020, I found out that I had a load of food sensitivities. And for those who don't know what a food sensitivity is, it's different from a food allergy. A food allergy is like you get hives, you break out, like your throat starts closing, like if you have shrimp or something like that. It's a immune response to food. But a sensitivity, that's an internal thing. So the bloating, the inflammation, the digestion issues. And I had a lot of that, and it led me to take a test, and I found out most of the stuff I was eating every day, like, I was not supposed to be eating. Wow. So now when I share those stories, so many people are like, I had a lady come up to me and was like, oh my God, your story, like, it just connected me. And she came and she lifted up her pant leg and she had compression socks on. Oh, and I was like, and I lifted up my pants leg and I had compression.
He said, I'm right there with you.
I said, I got you, sister. She was like, I have been swelling for so long. She's like, I'm bloated. Like, I kind of look like I'm pregnant, but I'm not. And she's like, I've been wondering what this issue is. And I kind of told her my journey, and she, like, I saw tears well up in her eyes. I'm like, okay, something is in this. Because kind of like how you said about the cantaloupe. Imagine if you live in a place, you don't have access to fresh food, and you never have, but all the food that you're eating is having some type of reaction internally, but you don't know it. Yeah. And then the food that you need, you don't even have access to it.
Wow. And then maybe the medical system that's around you, they're just pointing you just to medicine.
They're pointing you to meds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's starting to become a movement, like this food is medicine movement, this culinary medicine. And that's kind of where I see God shifting me to help me. I always say to be the community and corporate liaison between the two, because you have corporations that are starting to invest in the community and starting to pour back. But you got a community that has been systemically forgotten. Yeah. And just, neglected. And there's trust issues there. Yeah. So I'm happy to, like, go in the middle and say, hey, I speak community. Yeah. But then I also speak corporate. Like, how can we bridge this gap so you can get what you need, and then your resources can go into the right places, and we can kind of, like, raise the bar, for everybody. So that's brilliant. That's where I'm seeing my passion being driven now.
That's brilliant. I love it. And I mean, it's funny because it's like, I'm over here thinking it all starts with you being at 8 years old, just liking baking.
That's what I thought too.
And watching shows. And then, you realize, like, oh no, there's much more to this. Food is a love language in so many ways, and it does minister to people. I mean, I told the story. One of the things that got me to move to Texas was some very close family friends of mine. Shout out to the Russie family. And it was Miss Amy Russie. I call her Mama Russie. And I came down one time, and I had not really been down in the South that much. And they were trying to show me, like, Texas. And they just had some bananas that were going bad. And her son was like, do you want to make something with this? You want to throw it away? He's like, let me just whip up some banana bread and let's. Yes. And this thing, Jesus, was the best banana bread I ever had in my life. And I was over here like, I would have just thrown it away. And I was like, I want to move here. It was like, but it ministered to me. It was like that hospitality spirit, someone's intentionality into it. Like, it's the same thing if I go to a nice hotel and the presentation is thought through.
It's like, I feel special.
Yeah. All of it matters. And
And I want to bring that to the community too, because I think when you're in that space of like helping out the underserved, it feels like a charity case, you know, and you want to humanize people.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not everybody's fault that they're, like I said, it's a proximity issue.
Yeah,
It's not a poverty issue. And people just want to feel human. And I think if anything else, everybody deserves to eat well. Like, why does that have to be a divide there? Like, that's absolutely crazy.
Right.
So it's like everybody just wants to be humanized. So my goal is just to help everybody, like, just level out the playing field.
That's beautiful.
And everybody's quality of life, so everybody can have a chance.
I love that. And to restore dignity, you know, in so many ways of like, hey, it doesn't matter if you're a millionaire, this or that. You should be able to have...
the access should be the same. But now, like, there's studies coming out and FDA is rolling out, you know, all these new articles about their findings of all these toxic things that are in the foods that we eat every single day. But just imagine if that's all you had access to.
I mean, and listen, you know, like, it's not even just for, like you said, poor communities or tough proximity to... It's in suburban areas. Like, our food system is just jacked up.
It's jacked up.
And this is not a... By the way, I just want you to know, those who are watching, this is not a politics show.
No, it's not.
I never
Tune
get
into
into
the next
it.
episode. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I'm going to have... I was going to say this person... On. No. I really don't. I've done it on purpose. I've had people ask me to. And
really?
I'm like,
no, we're not getting into that.
No, I'm not.
But it's about serving people well, which is that. Yeah. That's what God calls us to do, is serve each other well. And if you go from that standpoint,
absolutely,
then you can't, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, parts of it is like, yes, there are things that I do want change, and I think part of it is like, I think God raises people up.
Yes.
In times of, like, I think of Joseph. Like, in a time of famine, God used him to give insight to a dream to the Pharaoh that didn't understand what it was. Right. Give strategy of what to do next. So they're like, okay, this is what the dream means. So what do we do, Joseph? All right, here's what we do. We're going to have 7 good years. Let's make sure we save enough so that we can last the 7 bad years that are coming, right? Like, God raises people up in times of famine, whether it be spiritually and naturally or just actual circumstances of life. It's like, okay, the world is needing this. These communities are needing this. And I'm giving you what's in your hand.
His heart is aching for those same things. Yeah. And you have to be, patient so he can work out his will and his timing in you. Instead of you going out in the forefront like, no, I'm just going to do this on my own time. It's like, no, you got to wait for him because he's going to impart the resources and the people at the right time. And that's really what it's about.
And that's why we need people like you on the forefront. We need whatever space you find yourself in. Yeah. Let's say you are an aspiring chef, you're listening to this. Like, we need you not just to be in the back kitchen, we need you to be on the front lines because, again, like, God needs your ability to be able to help, to be a resource. And so and we can't if we're just on the sidelines. We can't if we're not fully engaged. And I guess my last question to you, and this has been so fun. I've had so much fun.
I love it.
What would you say to someone who is an aspiring chef, or they want to be in the food industry? Maybe it's baking, whatever. They want to have their own bakery. They want to do their own. I know a lot of people do those like prep meals and or, like they want to do something within food. Everybody's doing the what's that one bread? The
sourdough bread.
Sourdough bread.
Yeah, oh my God.
I know like 3 friends doing
I'm
that.
on sourdough bread. And I'm like, oh, okay.
which is actually, I mean, it's good. It's amazing. Yeah. They're aspiring. They want to get into that. What would be your encouragement to them? Obviously, especially you're coming, of course, from the context of faith. But what would be your encouragement to them to get into that space? What would you say they need to do? What their frame of mind should be? What would you say?
I would say it really starts with yourself. Like that ideation stage, I think people try to skip that, and it's like, no, that's your foundation right there. Like building what your why is, bringing your story into the fold. Like you said, you can't just be in the background. People want to see your story, they want to engage in that. They want to find themselves in your story. So I was in a I was in like a master class type of thing, and oh my God, I forgot the chef's name. Like, I think it's called the Culinary Academy or something. I forgot, but or the Gourmet School Academy. I think that's what it was. But she asked us what our culinary point of view was, and I had never like really thought about that. Like, I knew my family was at the root, of my business, but I had never thought about it. And she was like, figure out what your culinary point of view is. Like, what do I think about when I create? Like, what do I want my people to feel like when I create? And just think about what you want your brand and your whole aura of your business to be. Like, do not despise that ideation and that building stage. Like, it is so important, and people skip those steps. They just want to get out there and start making money. Yeah, like, I'm just cook. Well, everybody cook. Everybody want to be a chef now. You know? Like, TikTok and all like,
oh my gosh,
you know, you get one compliment. You're like, you know what? I think I'm going to start a banana bread business. It's like, guys, come on. Like,
it's so easy. All you need to do is just
start an LLC.
Cooking.
Start an LLC, get $1 million in the first year, and then, you're good. No.
Yeah.
But, don't skip the ideation stage. Like, find your why, be rooted in that, and then constantly revisit it. Because you can lose sight of it. Like, once you get into the weeds of business, you'll be like, you'll totally forget your why. Like, no, constantly revisit it, and like, be rooted in that and shoot from there.
That's so good. I love that. One thing you said, I think everybody can take away from, especially if you are in a obviously, like, culinary it's an art, right? It's a craft. But it is saturated, you know, so there are a lot of people, so you have to stand out practically in some way. So so taking time to be like, okay, what's the story I tell?
Yeah, because nobody else is going to have that. You know, we can make the same dish, but like, nobody's going to have your story, my story. That's the part that differentiates us, for sure.
And I love that. And it's like, so you got to find, it's like, I just cook. It's like, well, what do you cook? What's the reason why you cook?
That used to be the question that I hated the most. People used to ask me, oh, what's your specialty? I used to hate that question because I wanted to do everything. And I was like, no, you're not going to put me in a box. What do you want? You want Asian? You want Greek food? I can do it all, you know? And I felt like that would put me in the box, and it would just like, no, I want to do everything. And it wasn't until I found the power in my story. It's like, no, people want to hear like my family story. Like, people want to understand like what I used to eat, what
Texas
what my grandma
born,
was.
Louisiana fed.
And I finally started to find some pride there, and then I started to narrow my lane. But then it allowed people to kind of come experience Amber. Like, I'm giving you a piece of myself, like when you eat, and it just helped me find like an even more pride in my story, and just kind of like expound what my flavors were. So
that's beautiful. I mean, and it's so. We are people of story.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, just like art is subjective, food is subjective, right? One flavor to somebody's going to be their cup of tea. Another. Yeah. Now, listen, I think flavor is flavor. You going to experience it or not.
It just depends.
It just depends,
I don't even take that stuff personal at all. I don't.
I wish that'd be so hard.
Like,
you watching
nasty.
someone,
I'll be like, okay, that's fine.
I one comment from that and I'll be done. I'll be out.
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
But saying all that to say, like, it's subjective, so you have to almost treat it like art. It's like, okay, I got to wrap my story into it. I got to put something behind this that people can attach themselves to. And like you said, not just make food, but make an experience.
Yes.
That's what's going to be the difference maker of. I've read the beginnings of a book my friend Jansen gave to me on hospitality, and it was a study on like the best restaurants in the world.
That's a science.
Yeah. And
everybody's looking at the Michelin star like that.
Yeah. And funny enough, this book talks about that, like, I mean, they were really good chefs, and like they were doing this award for like top 50 restaurants, and they were like number 50. Yeah. And then they were wondering, okay, like, so is it something like how they're cooking it? Are they using a flavor? And almost all of it was down to people and how they crafted the experience for people, because that's so you can, I mean, yes, you can always get the most expensive meat. You can always get the most, but at some point you're going to max out what you can practically do. And then there's just like the human experience person to person with that individual.
Yes, that is 1,000%. From the time you walk in the door, like, how do you make people feel? I try to teach my staff that too. I'm like, anticipate people's needs. Like, I watch people at events, like when they come to the table, because we want it to be like visually appealing. They come to the table, I kind of look to see where their eyes are going. I said, "Oh, you like that, don't you?"
I saw you,
get
girl.
with people, and they be like, I was like, go ahead, take one,
Wow.
Not stuffy. And I tell my staff, I said, don't you hold your head down. Like, we are not servants in that, we're not slave servants. Like, don't do that.
No.
You hold your head up. You speak to people before they speak to you. Like, you welcome them in. Like, you smile. I want them to know your name by the time they leave this event. Like, that type of, they came here to see us.
Yeah.
Not just to eat, but they came here to see us. And you'll kind of see my stat. Yeah, straighten your shoulders. Wow. Because we ain't that. Okay, don't get it twisted. Like,
I love it.
Because back in the day, like your Hercules, like the older chefs, like back in the day, like 1800s, that was a thing. Like, people came to homes like to see what the chef was doing.
Wow.
And then it started to become like this slave, like, oh, you just in the back cooking and with a cauldron, nobody cares. Your whole apron is dirty. And I think now food is getting back to that place where it's like, no, I want to see the chef. Wow. Is the chef here? I want to speak. I want to speak to them. I want to tell them thank you for the meal. It was great. Or, all those type of things. So there has to be like a sense of pride and
that's
there
beautiful.
Too. Mm-hmm.
And so much of that is like, because I can hear someone right now. It's like, I think, like, you're setting the tone of that of your leadership. So I think so much of it is like, if you're like, man, like, well, no one around me is doing that. It's like, well, you got to leave wherever you at and get to where that's the norm.
Think about what God calls us, like a royal priesthood, like the
holy nation. Yeah.
Like, dang, do we walk around like that? Like, or do we walk around like, but the Lord had to tell me, like, even in leadership, there is humility. Like, there's servitude in leader. Like, I always want to be a servant leader. So sometimes, like, I'm gonna let my staff go. I'm gonna finish dishes. Wow. Like, I'll go pick up the rest of that trash. Like, I'll go take that out. I'm bending down all those things because, we're in this together. And if I can't do it, I sure can't ask you to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, we need all of that. So, yeah.
Chef Amber, I told y'all she was an inspiration. I told you. I warned you. No, this is so good. I am so grateful that you are here. I'm grateful that you gave me time and gave our audience time. I definitely want to link all your stuff below. Put the link for people to buy your book.
Yes, please go get it
and to support. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. God bless you.
Are you kidding me? Like it never ceases to amaze me the people that God's brought on this table, and I always pray that God will just continue to bring them, and that this will be a space where they feel celebrated and honored. So for real, like this is going to impact and help so many people. So thank you.
Man, to God be the glory.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Faith Hustle podcast. We hope you were encouraged, inspired, and feel equipped to walk out your faith hustle. If you want to come on this journey with us in growing in our business and faith, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on audio platforms like Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We would love to take this journey with you, and we can't wait to see what God does in your business. We look forward to seeing you soon.